Welcome, grade 12s, yes, to your favorite learning program. I'm Ashraf Patel and we're doing the accounting together. Okay, what's happening today? Today, guys, we're looking at debtors and creditors reconciliations. Now, the question arises, do we understand who debtors are? Do we understand who creditors are? Let's take a brief look and see if we actually know what this is all about. Obviously, all your credit transactions will be recorded in specific journals. That's right, these are specialized journals. And what do they record? They record our credit transactions, which give rise to debtors and or creditors. In other words, you have a debtors journal, which is, like I said earlier, a specialized journal. What will it do? It will record all the transactions dealing with credit sales. Okay, then obviously you have a debtors allowances journal. Now what does this do? This journal is designed specifically to make provision for transactions where debtors are returning goods to us or where debtors have been granted an allowance. That's why it's called a debtors allowances journal. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about, and it may seem simplified at this stage, but keep this in mind because the ultimate end, it's going to impact on my debtors recon and my creditors recon. Got that, guys? Brilliant. Let's move on. By the same token, if we buy goods or any equipment or any transaction that we get involved in, which is a credit transaction, which involves the purchase, this transaction will be recorded in my creditors journal. And yes, we as a business can also return goods, or we can return faulty equipment. Therefore, the need arises for a creditors allowances journal. So take this, keep these 4 journals in mind. And these are journals that you dealt with in grade 10. And I'm sure you know exactly how to go about doing these journals. But like I always say, a reminder is always beneficial. So therefore, let's look at this debtors journal. What does it do? Remember, it records the invoice number, that one. It records the name of the debtor. It records the selling price, and it records the cost of sales. Okay, so in this debtors journal, I've recorded all information for that particular transaction. And obviously, this debtors journal is encasted at the end of the month to give me totals which needs to be posted to specific ledger accounts. Got that? Okay, you will see. It's a process, like I mentioned earlier. We will build on and on until we get to what we want. What do we enter into our debtors journal? Remember, it's credit sales that are entered into my debtors journal. No other transaction, because this debtors journal is specifically drawn up for this purpose only. Okay? Then, in my debtors allowances journal, this is a separate journal which records all goods that are returned by debtors, and not only goods but also allowances. Allow me to illustrate a little bit more on this point here. Sometimes what happens with a debtor is the goods are fine, but the debtor may complain about the price of the goods. So when we give an allowance to a debtor, then it does not mean that there has been a physical return of goods, but there has just been an allowance that was granted to that particular debtor. Now watch this, guys, just to take you back to this slide here. In this slide here now, If there's an allowance, you will only record one entry. There will be no record of it because there's no physical return of goods. There is no record of the cost of sales component. Keep that at the back of your minds. Okay, so in my creditors journal, I'm recording credit purchases as well as I'm recording my returns and allowances to my creditors. That means where we as a business has returned goods to our suppliers. So you have reason to stay tuned. Back in a jiffy.